The signal and the response. Captain Alina Reyes stood at the viewport of the EDF Tempest, watching as Earth grew smaller behind them. The new Hyperion-class cruiser was the pride of Earth's defense force, sleek, powerful, and built by a species that many in the galaxy still underestimated. Her dark eyes reflected the starlight as her ship prepared for its first real mission beyond routine patrol. "Captain," called Lieutenant Sarah Chen from the communications station, "we're receiving an encrypted transmission from Admiral Zhao. Priority Alpha." Reyes turned, her expression neutral but her mind racing. Priority Alpha was reserved for matters of planetary security. "In my ready room," she replied, striding across the bridge. Once inside, she activated the secure terminal. Computer, decrypt, and display. Admiral Y Zhao's weathered face appeared on screen. "Captain Reyes, I'm redirecting the Tempest to new coordinates. This is no longer a shakedown cruise. Sir, 23 minutes ago, our deep space relay network picked up a distress signal. It's from the Iridians." Reyes raised an eyebrow. The Iridians were one of the more peaceful spacefaring species in the Orion Arm. Philosophers, artists, and traders with a civilization spanning 12 worlds. First contact with them 3 decades ago had been one of humanity's more positive introductions to the galactic community. "The signal indicates they're under attack," Zhao continued. 3 of their primary worlds have already been hit. The attackers are identified as the Vorsek Dominion. "The Vorsek?" Reyes frowned. "They're a minor power, barely spacefaring a century ago. Apparently they've been building up military capacity in secret. The Galactic Council is convening an emergency session to discuss a response. But by the time they finish talking, there won't be any Iridians left to save." Reyes finished. Zhao nodded grimly. "Exactly. Earth is dispatching a response fleet. The Tempest will rendezvous with 6 other vessels at the following coordinates. You'll be under the command of Admiral Chen on the dreadnought Excalibur." "Rules of engagement." Zhao's expression hardened. "The Iridians are being systematically exterminated. There are reports of orbital bombardment on civilian centers. These aren't combatants being targeted. They're entire populations. So no mercy for those who show none," Reyes said softly. "Precisely. Defense Force Command has authorized full combat protocols. The coordinates and mission briefing are attached to this transmission." Zhao out. The screen went dark, and Reyes sat back, absorbing the implications. Humanity had been part of the galactic community for less than a century. Many species still regarded humans with a mixture of fear and contempt. Deathworlders, they called them, evolved on a high-gravity planet with extreme environmental conditions, hostile fauna, and a propensity for violence. But they also knew that humans answered distress calls. Reyes returned to the bridge. "Lieutenant Chen, plot a course to these coordinates, maximum sustainable speed." She transmitted the data to the navigator's station. "Commander Davis, sound general quarters, and prepare the ship for combat operations." "Combat operations," Davis repeated, already moving to comply. "We're responding to a distress call. The Iridians are under attack." The bridge fell silent for a moment before erupting into focused activity. "Time to rendezvous," Reyes asked. 6 hours, 23 minutes at maximum sustainable speed," Chen replied. "Execute," Reyes commanded, settling into her captain's chair. "And get me everything we have on the Vorsek Dominion." 6 hours later, the Tempest dropped out of FTL at the designated coordinates, joining 6 other human vessels already assembled there. The massive form of the Excalibur dominated the formation. "Incoming transmission from the Excalibur," announced the communications officer. Admiral Lin Chen appeared on the main view screen, her gray-streaked hair pulled back in a severe bun, her expression resolute. "Captain Reyes, welcome to Task Force Aegis. I've read your service record. Impressive." "Thank you, Admiral. We don't have time for extended briefings. I've transmitted the battle plan to your tactical officer. The Iridian homeworld of Meridia is our primary objective. Intelligence suggests 3 Vorsic battle groups converging there after hitting the colony worlds. And the Galactic Council? Rise asked. Chen's mouth tightened. Still deliberating. They've requested we stand down pending diplomatic outreach. And our response? We've acknowledged their message. Chen's tone made it clear what she thought of the Council's approach. Our fleet will arrive at Iridian space in approximately 12 hours. Review the tactical package and prepare your crew. Chen out. As the transmission ended, Rice turned to her first officer. Commander Davis gathered the senior staff in the briefing room. 20 minutes later, Rice stood before a display showing the Iridian home system, with her command staff assembled around the conference table. The Iridians evolved on a world with 0.8 Earth gravity and a climate considerably more stable than Earth's, Rice explained. Their physiology reflects this. They're taller than humans, with more delicate skeletal structures and slower reflexes. Their civilization has existed for roughly 3,000 years longer than ours, but they've never developed significant military technology. Easy targets, muttered Lieutenant Commander Ortiz, the tactical officer. For predators like the Vorsic, Rise agreed. What do we know about them, Commander Davis? Davis activated a different display showing a stocky, armored humanoid with distinctive ridged features. The Vorsic evolved on a heavy world, not unlike Earth. They're hierarchical, aggressive, and expansionist. They joined the galactic community about 120 years ago and have mostly kept to themselves until now. Why attack the Iridians? Asked Dr. Patel, the ship's chief medical officer. Resources, territory, or simple opportunism, Rice replied. The Iridians control several strategic transit points and have rich worlds. The Vorsic may have decided the benefits outweigh the risks of Council censure. They didn't count on us, said Lieutenant Wu, the ship's helmsman. No, Rice agreed quietly. They didn't. The human task force dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Iridian home system 12 hours later. Immediately, their sensors painted a grim picture. Multiple debris fields detected, reported Lieutenant Commander Ortiz, consistent with destroyed Iridian defense platforms and civilian vessels. Radiation signatures indicate heavy orbital bombardment on 2 of the outer colonies. Life signs? Rise asked. Scattered and faint on the colonies, Ortiz replied grimly. Meridia itself still shows significant population centers, mostly concentrated in the southern hemisphere. Vorsic fleet. Detecting 32 Vorsic warships in formation around Meridia. They appear to be systematically targeting major population centers. Their ships outmass ours by approximately 40%, but our weapons technology appears more advanced. Incoming transmission from the Excalibur, announced Chen. Admiral Chen's face appeared on screen, her expression hard. All ships, battle formation Delta. The Tempest will join the Valiant and the Dauntless in the first attack wave. Focus fire on their lead vessels. We need to disrupt their bombardment immediately. Acknowledged, Admiral, Rice replied. We're ready. One more thing, Captain, Chen added. We've managed to establish communication with the Iridian leadership. They've retreated to underground shelters, but they're still fighting. I want you to know what we're fighting for. The screen changed to show an Iridian, tall, with iridescent blue-green skin and large, expressive eyes. Despite obvious injuries, the alien maintained a dignified posture. This is First Speaker Thilian of Meridia. The alien said, its melodic voice translated by the ship's computer. Our defenses have failed. The Vorsic continue their attack without provocation or mercy. We were warned that humans were dangerous, that you evolved on a death world that shaped you into warriors. We never imagined we would pray for such warriors to come to our aid. If anyone receives this, please help us. The message ended, and there was silence on the bridge. All hands to battle stations, Rise ordered, her voice steady but filled with resolve. Shield generators to maximum. Weapon systems online. As alert klaxons sounded throughout the ship, Rise addressed her crew over the intercom. This is the captain speaking. We are about to engage an enemy that believes they can exterminate an entire species without consequences. Today, we will show them they're wrong. We may be outnumbered, but we are humans. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We survived predators, disasters, and disease. We forged ourselves in fire and darkness, and we emerged stronger. She paused, looking around at her bridge crew, men and women whose ancestors had clawed their way to the stars against all odds. The galaxy calls us Deathworlders. Today, the Vorsek will learn why that should frighten them. All hands, prepare for combat. The human fleet accelerated toward Meridia, weapons charging, on a direct course for the heart of the Vorsek formation. On the view screen, Reyes could see the enemy ships breaking off their bombardment, turning to face this unexpected threat. They're powering weapons, Ortiz reported. Let them come, Reyes said quietly. Humanity has answered the call. As the distance closed between the fleets, the first energy beams lanced out across the void. Retribution and revelation. Space ignited as the human fleet engaged the Vorsek armada. The EDF Tempest shuddered as enemy fire impacted against its shields, but Captain Reyes remained steady in her command chair. Evasive pattern theta, she ordered. Target their lead destroyer and fire when ready. The Tempest's main cannons discharged, sending streams of superheated plasma toward the Vorsek vessel. The enemy ship attempted to evade, but the human targeting systems predicted its movement with uncanny precision. Direct hit, Lieutenant Commander Ortiz reported with satisfaction. Their forward shields are down to 30%. Press the advantage, Reyes commanded. All batteries, continuous fire. Don't give them time to regroup. Across the battlefield, the human ships moved with a coordination that seemed to confuse the Vorsek. While individually smaller than the enemy vessels, the human ships executed complex maneuvers, focusing fire on key targets before rapidly repositioning. The Dauntless and Valiant are engaging the enemy's right flank, reported Commander Davis. Admiral Chen is leading the Excalibur directly against their command vessel. Status of the bombardment platforms, Reyes asked. 3 have been disabled, but 5 are still operational and continuing to target Meridia's surface. Reyes's jaw tightened. Helm, bring us around. We're going after those platforms. Captain, Ortiz warned, that will take us away from the main fleet formation. The Iridians are dying while we fight this battle, Commander. We didn't come here just to engage the Vorsek. We came to save lives. Yes, Captain. The Tempest broke away from the main engagement, accelerating toward the orbital platforms raining destruction on the planet below. 2 Vorsek cruisers moved to intercept. They've noticed us, Davis observed. Good, Reyes replied. Lieutenant Wu, prepare for close-quarters maneuvering. Commander Ortiz, I want targeting solutions on those bombardment platforms. When we break through, we'll only have seconds to take them out before the cruisers are on us. Aye, Captain. The Tempest surged forward, its advanced engines pushing the ship to speeds that seemed to catch the Vorsek defenders off guard. The enemy cruisers fired, but most of their shots went wide, as Wu executed a series of unpredictable course corrections. Now, Reyes ordered as they broke through the defensive screen. The Tempest's weapons discharged in rapid succession, striking 3 bombardment platforms before the Vorsek cruisers could respond. The platforms exploded in brilliant flashes, their deadly barrage finally silenced. Captain, incoming, Davis began, but was cut off as the ship rocked violently. Direct hit to our aft shields, Ortiz reported. Shield integrity at 68% and holding. Bring us about, Reyes commanded. Let's show them what happens when you corner a Deathworlder. The Tempest swung around, firing all batteries as it charged directly at the surprised Vorsek cruisers. The enemy vessels, expecting the humans to retreat, were caught off guard by the aggressive maneuver. They're breaking formation, Wu announced with a hint of satisfaction. Focus fire on the lead cruiser, Reyes ordered. Target their propulsion systems. The Tempest's main cannons fired again, the energy beams striking the Vorsek ship with devastating precision. Secondary explosions blossomed along its hull as critical systems failed. "The second cruiser is attempting to disengage," Davis reported. "Don't let them," Rice said. "Pursuit course." Before they could engage, however, a new communication came through. "Tempest, this is Admiral Chen. Well done taking out those bombardment platforms. Regroup with the fleet. We're detecting a new development." The view screen shifted to show the broader battle. The initial engagement had gone surprisingly well for the human forces. Despite being outnumbered, their superior tactics and technology had inflicted significant damage on the Vorsek fleet. But now, a new group of signals was approaching from the system's outer edge. "Reinforcements?" Rice asked. "Negative," Chen replied. "These signatures don't match Vorsek configurations. They appear to be Iridian." Rice raised an eyebrow in surprise. "I thought the Iridians had no significant military capacity." "So did everyone," Chen said, "including, apparently, the Vorsek." As they watched, 12 new vessels entered the battle space, sleek, organic-looking ships that moved with surprising speed and grace. Without hesitation, they engaged the Vorsek rear guard, catching the enemy in a devastating crossfire between themselves and the human fleet. "We're receiving a transmission from the lead Iridian vessel," Lieutenant Chen announced. A familiar face appeared on screen. First speaker Thelian, now in what appeared to be a command center. "Human allies," Thelian said, his large eyes blinking rapidly in what Reyes recognized as an expression of intense emotion. "We thank you for your timely intervention. These are our guardian vessels, hidden protectors we have maintained in secret for generations, hoping never to use them." First speaker, Rice acknowledged. "We're glad to see you have some defenses. We should coordinate our attacks for maximum effectiveness." "Indeed," Thelian agreed. "Though we lack your evolutionary adaptations for warfare, we have not survived as a species without some capacity for self-preservation. The Vorsek believed us defenseless, a misconception we cultivated deliberately over centuries." Admiral Chen joined the communication. "First speaker, my tactical officers are transmitting a coordinated battle plan. With your ships attacking from behind and ours pressing from the front, we can crush their fleet between us." "Agreed, Admiral. The time for philosophical pacifism has passed. Today, the Vorsek learned that appearances can be deceiving, both about Iridians and about our human allies." The combined human-Iridian offensive caught the Vorsek in a lethal vice. Their formation, already disrupted by the unexpected ferocity of the human attack, now completely broke apart as they tried to deal with threats from multiple directions. On the bridge of the Tempest, Captain Rice watched with grim satisfaction as the enemy fleet disintegrated. "The Vorsek flagship is attempting to retreat," Ortiz reported. "Not today," Rice replied. "Pursuit course. Admiral Chen has ordered us to capture that vessel if possible. We need answers about why this attack happened." The Tempest accelerated once more, joined by 2 Iridian vessels as they chased down the fleeing Vorsek command ship. Damaged and unable to reach escape velocity, the enemy vessel turned to make a final stand. "They're charging weapons," Davis warned. "Evasive maneuvers," Rice ordered. "Target their weapon systems only. We want that ship intact." What followed was a precise surgical strike as the human and Iridian ships disabled the Vorsek flagship piece by piece. First its weapons, then its engines, and finally its communications array. Left adrift and defenseless, the Vorsek commander had no choice but to surrender. "Captain," Lieutenant Chen called from communications, "Admiral Chen is requesting you join the boarding party. She wants you present for the interrogation of the Vorsek leadership." Reyes nodded. "Commander Davis, you have the bridge. Maintain alert status. This isn't over until we're sure all Iridian worlds are secure." 2 hours later, Captain Rice stood in what had been the command center of the Vorsek flagship, now under human and Iridian control. Beside her stood Admiral Chen and First Speaker Thelian. Facing the captured Vorsek commander, a heavily built, reptilian humanoid with gray-scaled skin and eyes that burned with defiance despite his defeat. Supreme Commander Vrek of the Vorsek Dominion. Admiral Chen began formally. You are charged with unprovoked aggression against a peaceful member species of the galactic community, orbital bombardment of civilian populations, and attempted genocide. The Vorsek commander sneered. We do not recognize your authority to judge us, human. The strong prevail, the weak perish. This is the law of nature. If strength is your measure, Rise said coldly, then you have failed by your own standard. Your fleet is destroyed. Your crews captured or dead. A temporary setback, Vrek responded. The Dominion is vast. This was merely one fleet. Was it also merely one fleet that attacked human colony worlds in the Arcturus sector 2 decades ago? Chen asked sharply. The question hung in the air as Reyes glanced at her superior in surprise. The Arcturus massacre had been one of humanity's greatest tragedies. 3 outlying colonies destroyed by unknown attackers who had vanished without a trace, leaving no survivors. A flicker of something, recognition, satisfaction, passed across Vrek's face before he composed himself. I know nothing of your colonies, he said, but there was a new wariness in his posture. First speaker Thelian stepped forward, his tall form looming over the stocky Vorsek. Why? Why attack us? We traded with your people. We shared knowledge, resources. Vrek's gaze shifted to the Iridian. Because you were there. Because you had what we wanted. Because we believed you too weak to resist and too insignificant for others to defend. You were wrong on both counts, Thelian said quietly. Admiral Chen nodded to a human security officer who stepped forward with a datapad. We've analyzed your ship's computer records. This attack was authorized at the highest levels of your government. Your targeting protocols specifically prioritized civilian centers over military installations. Of course, Vrek replied without shame. The most efficient way to claim territory is to eliminate its current occupants. The Dominion requires new worlds, and the Council is too fractured and indecisive to stop us. Perhaps the Council is, Rice said, stepping closer to the prisoner. But humanity is not, and neither, it seems, are the Iridians. This vessel's databanks also contained records of previous campaigns, Chen continued, including operations in the Arcturus sector that matched the timeframe and attack patterns of the assault on our colonies. Vrek's expression hardened, but he said nothing. 20,000 human lives, Chen said, her voice deadly quiet. And now millions of Iridians. Your government has made a grave miscalculation, Commander. The Vorsek believed they could prey on those they perceived as weak or isolated, counting on the Council's bureaucracy to shield you from consequences. You've awakened something far more dangerous than Council sanctions, Rise added. Earth has officially declared the Vorsek Dominion a hostile power. As we speak, our fleets are mobilizing across human space. The Iridians were not the isolated target you believed them to be. They have allies, dangerous ones. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in Vrek's eyes. Take him away, Chen ordered the security team. As the prisoner was led out, she turned to Thelian. First speaker, I promise you this. The attack on your people will not go unpunished. Thelian bowed slightly. Admiral, Captain, my people owe yours a debt we cannot repay. When the distress call was sent, I confess I had little hope. The Council has always been deliberative in its response to crisis. While they deliberate, people die, Rice said. Humans don't have patience for that approach. A trait born of your world. I understand, Thelian replied. We have studied Earth in our xenobiology courses, a remarkable planet that produced a remarkable species. The term Deathworlder is often used with fear or derision in galactic circles, but today I see it differently. How so? Asked Chen. As a promise, Thelian said simply, a promise that there exists in this galaxy a species that will not stand idle while others suffer, that will risk their lives for strangers, that will answer when called. Your evolution on a hostile world did not make you cruel. It made you resilient, and perhaps most surprisingly, compassionate. 1 week later, Captain Rice stood on the observation deck of the Tempest, watching as repair crews, both human and Iridian, worked to restore Meridia's orbital infrastructure. The combined fleet had successfully driven the remaining Vorsic forces from Iridian space, and relief efforts were well underway on the devastated colonies. Commander Davis joined her at the viewport. "The last of the medical supplies have been delivered to the southern continent, Captain. Dr. Patel reports the Iridian physicians are making good use of them." "Good," Rice nodded. "And the council representatives?" Davis's expression soured slightly. "Finally arrived. They're meeting with Admiral Chen and First Speaker Thelian now. Lots of talk about proper protocols and authorized interventions." "Better late than never, I suppose," Rice said dryly. "The Iridians aren't having it," Davis replied with a hint of satisfaction. "They formally requested a mutual defense pact with Earth, bypassing council oversight. Apparently, they prefer allies who actually show up when needed." Rice smiled slightly. "Can't blame them." Her communicator chimed. "Captain Rice, please report to Conference Room 1. Admiral Chen requires your presence for the council briefing." Rice sighed. "Duty calls, Commander. You have the bridge." 20 minutes later, she stood beside Admiral Chen as they faced a holographic projection of the Galactic Council's Security Committee, representatives of 7 advanced species who looked upon the humans with expressions ranging from grudging respect to open disapproval. "While the outcome of your intervention was positive," said Councillor Xarn, a crystalline entity who served as the committee's chair, "the procedure was highly irregular. Military action should only be undertaken after council authorization." "With respect, Councillor," Chen replied evenly. "By the time authorization would have been granted, we would have been discussing reparations rather than rescue. The Vorsic were executing a systematic genocide." "Nevertheless," insisted another councillor, an insectoid being, "there are processes that failed both the Iridians and humanity." Rice interrupted, earning a sharp look from Chen that quickly softened to approval. "Our investigation of the captured Vorsic vessels confirmed they were responsible for the Arcturus attacks 20 years ago. Attacks the Council dismissed as inconclusive, despite evidence we presented." First Speaker Thelian, standing nearby, stepped forward. "The Council's deliberative approach has its merits, but not when worlds are burning. The Iridian Collective formally recognizes and commends Earth's decisive action. Without their intervention, my species would now be facing extinction. The matter of the Vorsic aggression will be thoroughly investigated," Councillor Xarn assured them. "Their government denies authorizing these attacks, claiming Commander Vrek acted independently." "A convenient fiction," Chen said coldly. "One disproven by the evidence we've already submitted to the Council." "Yes, well," Xarn shifted uncomfortably. "These matters are complex." "No," Rice said firmly. "Some matters are actually quite simple. Genocide is wrong. Defending the innocent is right. Earth will continue to respond to distress calls, council authorization or not." The meeting continued for another hour, filled with diplomatic language that did little to disguise the fundamental shift that had occurred. By the time it concluded, 2 things were clear. The Council was unhappy with human unilateralism, and they were even more unhappy that it had proven effective. As the holographic projections faded, Admiral Chen turned to Reyes. "Not exactly diplomatic, Captain." "No, Admiral," Reyes agreed. "But honest." Chen smiled faintly. "The Council fears us. They always have. Deathworlders who escaped their cradle despite all odds, and now build ships that can traverse the stars. They feared we would be conquerors. Instead, we're protectors," Thelian observed, "perhaps more frightening to some." "The Vorsic certainly found it frightening," Rice noted. "They won't be the last," Chen said solemnly. "Word of this engagement is spreading across known space. Some will see it as a warning, others as a challenge. And still others as hope, Thelian added. Knowledge that when darkness comes, one may call out, and humanity will answer. Rise looked out at the stars beyond the viewport, countless points of light, each possibly home to civilizations yet undiscovered. How many of them lived in fear? How many needed defenders? We answered this time, she said quietly. And we'll answer next time. That's what Deathworlders do.